following the launch of the highly anticipated 68.4-inch wide Talon 1000R and 64-inch wide Talon 1000X in 2019. Honda was back at it again a few months later, releasing two 4-seat models, the 2020 Talon 1000X-4 and Talon 1000X-4 Fox Live Valve. CT Racing Engines owner Alan Knowles drove both versions of the Talon 4 at Honda's press launch last year, and has since been doing ongoing testing on the X4 Fox Live Valve on the West Coast. A while back, longtime test driver Aarom Meyer purchased a standard Talon X4 for his growing family in southeast Indiana. Filming with both drivers provided perspective on how the 4-seat Talons performed in different terrains nationwide. With the 2021s having hit the market, we present to you our in-depth review of the Honda Talon 1000X4. This UTV on-demand test has been made possible by Planet Side by Side makes upgrading your ride fast and affordable with their price match guarantee and free shipping on orders over $99. A leader in wheel and tire packages. They stock System 3, Maxxis, ITP, Fuel, Method Race wheels, and more. Planet Side by Side serves your off-road audio needs with brands like Wet Sounds, SSV Works, and Rockford Fosgate. For all your side-by-side needs with no-interest financing available, visit planetsidebyside.com. Maxima Side-by-Side Engine Oil. An ester-based full synthetic oil blended with a unique balance of surface-active, anti-wear, and extreme pressure additives to ensure smooth, trouble-free operation under extended periods of use. Lower operating temperatures increase horsepower and keep your engine running clean. With Maxima Side-by-Side Synthetic Oil, the only oil formulated specifically for your high-performance UTV. Dirt Commander 2.0 tires from GBC, a bold redesign of the original, offering 8-ply radial construction with enhanced performance and durability in all conditions. Redesigned tread blocks flex more and improve cleanout. Acceleration and braking are improved with their square profile, putting more tread in contact with the ground. Elongated shoulder knobs provide enhanced protection and grip for powering through corners and obstacles with confidence. Learn more at gbctires.com.
Hey there, I'm Aarom Meyer, and we're out here doing a little evaluation on my Honda Talon X-4. I've had it for a couple weeks now and finally got to take it to mountains in Tennessee and did a little bit of testing here with UTV On Demand today.
Hey, I'm Alan Knowles from CT Racing. I'm out here today for UTV On Demand. Give you the rundown on this awesome Honda Talon X4. Executives at UTV On Demand came up with a whole bunch of questions. You'll see me looking at this. These corporate guys from these kind of places, they always sit in their air-conditioned offices, kind of all kinds of stupid questions for you to answer. So I'm going to filter through them. I'm going to see if I can hit about 60% of their questions with answers.
Like the 2-seat Talons, the X4s use a pumped-up version of the engine and transmission found in Honda's sport utility Pioneer 1000, with a top end borrowed from their Africa Twin motorcycle, producing a modest 104 horsepower. Honda worked to maximize sporty power delivery with an emphasis on strong low to mid-range horsepower and torque, adding a good aftermarket exhaust system like HMF's Performance Series, Titan XL, or Titan Quiet, along with a Dynajet Power Vision fuel and ignition controller, can add an impressive 7.5 to 9 horsepower and 3.5 to 4 foot-pounds of torque. If you're concerned about excessive noise like we are, HMF's Titan Quiet series will keep your Honda within 4 decibels of stock at idle.
A twin is the way to go for a gearbox car. The triple, which say the Can-Am has, is awesome when you have a CVT because you only care about having a very narrow power curve. When you have a gearbox, you need a wide power curve. You got to come off the bottom, follow through, and shift. So this is a really good power plant for what it's put into, which is a gearbox car. Real happy with that. That makes it fun to drive.
Displacing 999 cc's with a 10-to-1 compression ratio, the water-cooled parallel twin features a 270-degree firing order, moving the firing of the pistons closer together to maximize torque and traction. The head features 4 valves and Honda's Unicam design, which has proven extremely reliable in their dirt bikes. Electronic fuel injection delivers the gas via 46mm throttle bodies. Oil is circulated throughout the engine via dry sump lubrication. A multi-port oil jet lubricates the pistons, reducing temperatures. 4 automotive-style rubber engine mounts are strategically located to reduce vibration and enhance strength. With direct gear-on-gear drive provided by Honda's dual-clutch transmission, it's more efficient at transferring power to the ground compared to a CVT transmission. It features a 6-speed dual-range transmission, beneficial in varying terrain and with different tire sizes.
It's a good contemporary design on the motor and the head, so it develops really good torque, mid-range. It's good all through that.
On the Honda Talon X-4, the power low end is pretty good. It's everything you need for the trails here on the east side of the country. Mid, I think that's kind of where it shines.
It kind of goes flat on top. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to bump it up 20-25 horsepower. Ported, cam, a little higher compression, still keep a pump gas. Have a good build. We'll be dyno testing that in a few weeks here. So if you have any questions, call CT Racing, ask me what we got. I was asked, do you notice the lack of power in the 4-door versus the 2-door? And I've got both. I've driven both extensively. Not really. There's not much difference. You'll notice more when you load the 4-door up with 4 big people. That pulls it down and is noticeably so. The Kawasaki, which is a 2-door, weighs a couple hundred pounds more than this 4-door. So that's not even really a consideration. It sounds good, shifting, banging gears, going through the gearbox. It's got a good sound. It's not noisy. I don't like particularly noisy cars. What I found is when I put big tires on, like I have on this car, when I GPS it, the speed goes, it'll pull a lot more miles an hour. The car will rip. It's over 80 with these 31s that I have on here now. And so, they will pull big speed. It's just, got a regulator, and you cheat it when you go to oversized tires, so it doesn't know how fast it's going. That's why you got to go to GPS. This car, you can't get it hot. I've tried. It just does not get hot. I flat foot that thing, go up the hill, and there is no heating issue with this car.
The transmission features 2 auto-shift modes, normal and sport, in addition to a manual mode, controlled by steering wheel-mounted electronic paddle shifters and a computer-controlled clutch. Shift times were cut in half on the Talon compared to the Pioneer. In automatic normal mode, a computer measures throttle position and input, RPMs, speed, and braking to determine if you're driving casually or aggressively and tries to adjust accordingly. Sport mode shifts up and down at a higher RPM, allowing the engine to rev higher longer before shifting. The paddle shifters can be used to override what automatic mode is doing for a short time, after which auto mode returns to its regularly scheduled program.
Gear spacing on this is excellent. It's spaced out evenly, doesn't have any soft spots or gear too short and then a big lag. And I've run them with a lot of different tires. I've run them from the stock 28s, 31s, 32s, and even the 35s. Doesn't make any difference, just eats up the gearing and pulls it. So there's no issue with the training.
Out here on the eastern side of the country, we have a lot tighter trails, hills, so I spend a lot of my time in low range. I like it because I don't have to run first and second gear, and you don't have to stop and change to high range when you get to an open section. You can just shift up to 6th gear.
When I'm going to go through some gnarly rock type crawl stuff, I'm going to put in low range, so I'm not beating up the clutch trying to clutch over rocks and stuff like that. Good driving, you're just not going to have a problem with the clutch. Got several thousand miles in these things now, no clutch issues at all. What I've heard from some people is if you throw them into gear and then you gas it and it hasn't gone into gear, it's real hard in the tranny. Drop it into gear, low, high, reverse, whatever. Wait the second for it to go into gear, and then it takes care of everything else from there.
The gear shifts in the automatic and the regular automatic aren't quite where I like them, but you do have sport mode, and that does help out quite a bit when you're aggressively riding. There's a section that we were riding that was kind of like a short course area, or maybe like a track area. That seemed to do pretty well.
The stuff that I do, I put the thing in sport mode, just drive it all the time. The only thing I'll do, which is really handy, is I'll override it. I come into a corner, I know I want to downshift it, I come down, brake, and then I just pop it down a gear or two and pin the throttle and drift through the corner. So it lets you do it. Once you override it, it stays with your override, and then eventually it'll upshift. Then again, on the normal mode, I run that when I'm cruising, mostly because it shifts sooner and you're going to get better fuel economy.
I really didn't have a problem with it. I just thought that I could do a little bit better when I shifted in manual mode, and that's the beauty of it, is that you can jump back and forth from automatic to manual. This manual transmission drives very different than a CVT when you're entering and exiting a corner because you are in a gear. The engine braking though, when you come down a hill, it's a manual transmission, so you have any kind of engine braking you want to have.
The Fox Live Valve Edition features launch mode. You can disengage the clutch by pulling in both paddle shifters, rev the engine to redline, then drop the clutch by releasing the paddle shifters.
Works. It's going to launch better than you can launch on your own. It's going to let you rev it harder than it will let you rev it without and dump the power. So there is a launch mode that's going to help you drag race so you can beat your buddy.
A switch on the center dash lets you select between two-wheel drive and Honda's unique i4-wheel drive system. i4-wheel drive is claimed to offer the traction of a locking front differential without the increase in steering effort. It uses a limited slip front differential along with a computerized brake control that applies braking to whichever front wheel is slipping, multiplying the force and transferring it to the wheel that's getting traction. Honda's i4-wheel drive system does well at finding available traction. Our drivers run with i4-wheel drive engaged a majority of the time to maximize steering accuracy, and are still able to drift the Talon in loose terrain. Built on a tough-looking tubular steel chassis, the 1000X-4 uses the same suspension setup as the 1000X, with dual A-arms up front and a 3-link trailing arm system out back. Fox Podium 2.0 front and 2.5 rear QS3 shocks offer spring preload and 3 positions of compression damping adjustment. Position 1 is for comfortable cruising, 2 for general sport riding, and 3 for aggressive driving or driving while loaded down. Fox Live Valve version features Podium 2.5 shocks at both ends, spring preload adjustment, and computer-controlled compression damping. A switch inside the cockpit lets you select between normal and sport settings. Fox Live Valve ECU examines vehicle speed, engine RPM, throttle input, steering, braking, and a 5-axis inertia measuring unit every 5 milliseconds or 200 times per second. It then uses that data to continuously fine-tune each shock's compression damping independently up to 16 times per second to deliver the plushest ride possible without bottoming harshly on big hits, as well as fighting pitching and rolling. The X4s have 14.6 inches of wheel travel front and 15.1 inches of travel out back, a bit on the short side for the 64-inch class. Both X4s feature electronic power steering. 28.9/15 front and 28.11/15 rear Maxxis tires are the same ones used on the 2-seat Talon models. They come wrapped around 15-inch aluminum wheels. The 64-inch wide Talon X4s have a 116.4-inch wheelbase, one of the shortest in the class. 12.8 inches of ground clearance is respectable. A claimed overall height of 78.5 inches is a bit on the high side.
As far as the chassis and suspension goes, chassis, I have no complaints with it. Seems like it's going to be a durable machine. There's over 500 miles on here now.
The chassis on this car is stiff, rigid. I like that. It tends to make it need tires that have some flex. Suspension. Suspension is good. It's a little bit harsh.
We've been doing some trail rides with my family. It's very smooth. It soaks up a lot of that small, the small low-speed bumps that you have. On some of the bigger impacts, G-outs and harder hits like that, it's a little bit too harsh either with one person or fully loaded. And I wish there was just a little bit more tunability.
The electronic suspension on this, it really keeps the car flat. Most people really like that. It gives them a lot of security. You don't need the car to be wider. It's perfectly stable. You can drift at high speeds. Personally, I like the car without the electronic suspension, simply because I want the car to roll over. I actually want it to roll over a little bit so it gets some bite on the outside tire so I can get into the throttle harder sooner. Most people don't mind. They just let the car drift around a little bit and they're happy with that. If you have a huge amount of seat time, you might go to the cheaper car without the electronic.
Corner stability on the Talon X-4, it stays pretty flat going through the corners, fast and slow speeds. It's stable enough that I'm comfortable to bring the back end around and sweep it through a corner nice and fast.
Steering accuracy in this car is very precise. I can put the thing right where I want it. There's no issue. The steering is light, has a little bit of feedback.
I wish there was some adjustment, kind of like the transmission, some sport and normal mode on the power steering. It turns easy. It's great when you're in the slow speed section, you're rock crawling, you have plenty of power to turn the wheels. The problem that I have with it is in your high speed areas. When you're back steering, say going through a big sweeping corner, it kind of fights you when you try to straighten it out.
The high speed stability on this four-door is phenomenal. I can really mob it down some roads and it just tracks, hit the bumps, hit whoops, hit rocks, whatever's out there. You just let it fly and let it go, and it just pretty much stays on point where you're aiming it.
One big thing that it does need is a skid plate. The skid plate that comes factory on here is not up to par. It's basically like a paper plate underneath. Skid plate would be a big win. Some larger tires than 28-inch tires. I think these are close to some of the smallest tires in the 1000 class.
They're 28-inch on 15-inch rims. Means they have no sidewall to give you any sidewall flex. So almost all of my testing has been on bigger tires. Right now I got the 32-inch ITP Coyotes on here. They're a good tire for lots of places, but just for me they're a little bit loose. But the size is awesome. They work 100 times better than stock. It makes the car, the suspension works better, it handles better overall. It's better in the corners. Now I've also got, I run beadlocks. This has some Raceline beadlocks on it. They're really good beadlock and they're very economical. Get yourself some tires, get some Raceline beadlocks, and you'll be a lot happier with the car. It makes everything I said about how it handles and everything else, come to, because stock, they're just too small, too light, don't hook.
Braking power is provided by four-wheel hydraulic disc brakes featuring 250mm rotors at all four corners with dual-piston calipers front and single-piston calipers rear. In two-wheel drive, Honda's electronic brake force distribution system is designed to optimize brake force front to rear under changing load conditions. For takeoffs on hills, Honda's push-button hill start assist applies the brakes for a few seconds, allowing you to take your foot off the brake and hit the gas for single-foot driving. Driving out west in the high-speed desert, Talon is no stranger to hard braking into corners, with the Talon offering plenty of stopping power and feel. With long runs between turns allowing the brakes to cool, heat and fade aren't an issue. But as we mentioned earlier, with the i4-wheel drive system utilizing the brakes, they tend to heat up and fade when driving extremely aggressively in the tight stuff.
I've always been a big fan of Honda brakes. I know the i4-wheel drive has something to do with the brake system. I'm not sure if it's the i4-wheel drive, but I did notice that I was losing a lot of pedal when I'm aggressively driving. I have no complaints with it when I'm on the trail with my family, but if I'm out aggressively riding, they do seem to heat up and get a bit spongy.
We'd recommend swapping out to some high-quality aftermarket brake fluid like that from Motul if you plan on driving aggressively in the tight stuff. You enter the Talon through doors with lower cutouts front and rear. Door nuts come standard, providing an added level of safety.
The doors seem very high quality. The latches are good. They don't rattle like some of the other machines do. They swing good. They're not in the way, crawling in or out. I like how the doors are. I just wish that, like every other one of them, they would have come with a full bottom door.
I do like the nets on it. Drive race cars always have dents. My wife doesn't like them quite so much, but I just feel better about having them there, so I leave them on the car and put them on every time.
Honda mounted the instrument display center dash to enhance the experience for all four occupants. A tilt-adjustable steering wheel and seat that can be slid fore and aft are found on the driver's side, with a T-handle grab bar found on the passenger side. High-backed, bolstered seats feature pass-throughs for easy harness installation. The rear seats are nearly 3 inches higher and 2 inches closer for an improved viewing experience. A well-designed roof is standard on both models.
Everything just seems very high quality as far as the interior goes. Very comfortable machine to ride in all day long. Plenty of leg room.
They're pretty good for stock seats. They're not bolstered like an aftermarket race seat or something that I'm used to, but for average light day, they're fine, they're comfortable. They've got the pass-throughs, so you can go to full harnesses if you want. I like that, so you don't have to go out and buy seats if you want to run harnesses. I pretty much always do that. They do have the best sliders in the industry. They slide back and forth just like a car. I'm 6'4", I fit in it well. There's no car that's, maybe has as much leg room as I might like.
In cabin, there's a passenger side glove box, oversized cup holders front and rear, and out back, the bed can haul an additional 299 pounds of cargo.
The cup holders are probably the best of any of the cars. A lot of them are up where you can't get to them when you're driving. They're just there to hold the drink, and then when you stop, you can grab them. The Hondas, it's got the little rubber flapper so stuff doesn't fly, but it's right next to you.
We take a cooler with food and drinks, and we always try to take a toolbox with some of the tools you might need, tires and whatnot, that you might have problems with on the trail. One big loser on this car is there's not a ton of storage space for a cooler and a toolbox.
But there's no back on it, and that's one thing that I don't like. Look at the Polarises and some of the other cars. I like having a bed that you can just throw stuff in and snap it down, and you don't have to worry about it bouncing out. Servicing the car. It's a Honda. Fit and finish is excellent. It's easy to service. Everything's where it's supposed to be. Everything's accessible. Even the battery is not hidden behind us underneath the seat. It's where you can get to it. You want to change a battery, change the oil filter. Air filters takes a little bit more to do the clean, to get it out, but it's also probably the best stock air filter on the market as far as keeping the motor clean. This is the best choice, I think, of a car, arguably, for a lot of people that just don't need a turbo. A lot of people don't need a turbo. You really need a turbo for high altitude or sand. Other than that, for trail riding, all that stuff, this thing's got plenty of power. I'm drifting, hucking, and going as fast, and my friends that are going with me that have turbos, they're like, we can't tell the difference in your speed, what you're driving. You can go, so it has plenty of power to get down the trail at a hard clip.
Overall, my thoughts on this vehicle and the Talon X-4, I like it. I bought this car because I wanted a Honda. I wanted something that was reliable, that was going to hold up. I've had some other vehicles that after a couple hundred miles they get rattly and loose.
Well, there's your rundown of the Honda Talon. We'll see what they come out with next. It's a dang good car. It's solid. There's no rubber band connecting it, so you don't have to worry about that. And gearbox is fun to drive. Don't overlook it because it doesn't have a billion horsepower. It still gets down the trail as fast as anything that you need to do or can do, and it's just a great platform. So get to your Honda dealer, go buy one of these things. You'll have a good time. Get out there. Alan Knowles, UTV on Demand, CT Racing, out.